Hi, my name's Matt Locke, and this is the Everyday Athlete Podcast, the podcast for the everyday athletes around the world who refuse to be average and who want to create a legacy of health, fitness, and achievement in every aspect of their life. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it's time to forge your future. Hey, Julian and Ross, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Good to meet you.
So you are two of the three co-founders from an amazingly innovative and new company called Timebirds. But before we dive into all things Timebird, maybe we can hear a little bit more about yourselves for those who are not familiar. Julian, maybe let's start with where in the world you're sitting and tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I live in Melbourne now. I'm French, and you'll probably see that as I'm talking. So I've been working in the corporate world for quite a few years, traveling a lot. I ended up being transferred in Australia to start a small subsidiary here about 4.5 years ago. My background is in product design and mechanical engineering. So most of the, let's say, design of Timebirds is mine. That's pretty much who I am.
So my earlier reference to propeller heads before we went live, that didn't refer to you, by the way.
Sorry, we can do that again.
Very good. And you're sitting in Melbourne, is that right?
Yes. I've been in Melbourne for 4.5 years now.
Sure. At the time of recording this, of course, Melbourne is in a state of lockdown due to COVID. So, how are things going where you are?
Pretty tough. We've been in a full lockdown for about 4 weeks now, and really can't wait to get out, being able to go back to the countryside and even going back to the gym. It's been a long time since I've been in a box. So definitely looking forward to the end of it.
Certainly feel your pain. We're just walking the tightrope here in New South Wales at the moment. We're still continuing to stay on the bright side of it all. But as Melbourne was evident, it really, you're only one click of the fingers away, right? Any of us. But glad you're holding up. And Ross, you're also in Melbourne, is that right?
Yeah, just a few kilometers down the road from Julian. In lockdown in Melbourne, we've been doing everything around Timebirds remotely for a few weeks now, which has been interesting. Haven't seen each other for a while. As you can tell from my accent, I am also not originally from Melbourne. I'm from Scotland originally and spent a long time in Scotland, England, Canada, and been in Australia for a few years now. My background's not so much around product. My background's kind of in the experience space. I have a background in positive psychology and coaching psychology, so I've always come from a real interest in, I guess, a couple of things around experience first and foremost, but also been in and around the sports and fitness industry for a long time when it comes to coaching psychology. So very interested in the psychology behind time and the part it plays in our industry and in the fitness community, but also just fascinated and always have been around what brings us together as a community. And obviously we're all really part of a quite astoundingly tight community. So really always had a fascination about how that plays a part in the human psychology and the whole psyche of what it is we do in the fitness industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, in the spirit of the whole COVID situation, it's been interesting. Every cloud does have a silver lining. Because for me, I've seen nothing but a community, as you say, an awesome community, pull together even more. Certainly for you guys in Melbourne at the moment who are not able to go to a gym or box or studio and train, I think it really brings it to the surface how integral that is to well-being, mental health, just that sense of community, that sense of belonging, how important is the camaraderie that comes with it. So we wouldn't wish COVID to be here, but there are some silver linings, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible, really, and I think you're right. You would have thought that those walls that we all go to, that sacred space that a lot of us go to, that our community lives within, may have been hampered by this time. But I think, like you said, if anything, it's brought everyone closer together in a really challenging moment in most people's lives. They've rallied together and found ways to stay in contact. And we find it really interesting. A lot of my background academically is around team coaching and teams in general. And one of the commonly accepted elements of team is that they have a common goal or a common purpose and a common focus. And in our functional fitness community or fitness community in general, we obviously have a number of shared goals. But what we found and really reflected upon and found fascinating is that time is one of those shared goals. That wall-mounted gym timer is such a focal point of that gym community. And I think one of the reasons we've seen such amazing engagement so far with Timebirds, and something we've been very lucky about, is that people are really missing that connection to time whilst they're having to train from home and being separated from their gym community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a parallel that resonates quite deeply. I get that. So there's actually 3 of you, I believe. We have
yes
3 of you. So who, of course, the third couldn't be with us, but I think he's the Australian amongst you, correct?
He is the one Australian in our Australian founded business. Yeah. Yeah, we had to have him in there. Kieran is Kieran's very much responsible for everything you see around the look and feel of the Timebirds brand. His background also globally is in advertising, marketing, brand development. He's launched a number of brands globally. So we've been so lucky and so honored to work with him and have him as our co-founder. And like I said, he's responsible for the amazing brand that goes with Timebirds. And one thing, we talked about all of our professional backgrounds, but one thing that we've always found really interesting when working together on Timebirds is that we all have a sporting background to a decent level, but in vastly different things. So Kieran was a college level basketball player and went over to the US to do that from Australia when he was younger. I played a reasonable level of rugby back home and then spent a long time in the skiing industry. And Julian, from certainly recent history, is a really strong runner. So we've always been really fascinated how CrossFit and functional fitness in general brought us together brought us to meet each other, but from these really diverse sporting backgrounds. I think, again, keep coming back to this, and we probably will keep coming back to this, but again, it just speaks to that community and the diversity of people that brings together different parts of the globe, different professional backgrounds, different sporting backgrounds, all ending up coming across each other and building this business over a shared love of something.
Yeah, which is absolutely fantastic. And I'm keen now to dive in. We've used the word Timebird a few times, and of course, we know what Timebirds is, but maybe you could just, for the listener who is not yet familiar with Timebirds, what is it you guys are doing? What are you bringing to the world?
Julian, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
I'll have a go. And so basically, Timebird is it's a pocket-sized version of a wall-mounted gym timer. And how did we come up with the idea? Well, basically, so I've been traveling a lot for work. When I say a lot, it's maybe like 60 to 80 flights every year for the past decade. So it's a lot of trainings in hotel gyms, or in fact, before I travel now, I always look at the closest gym to whatever hotel I potentially want to. And this is how I make my decisions of where I want to stay in the cities. So so it was not always ideal to train, and I always missed my wall-mounted gym timer for whenever I was doing a open gym session or some of my own training at the hotel gyms. So I thought, maybe I could do something around that, and so that was one. And then like my brother-in-law, one day we were talking, and I looked at his phone, and it was all broken. And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Oh, I took it at the gym the other day, and I dropped the plate onto it and broke my screen." And I was like, there's definitely something to be done around having a purpose-built fitness timer for people who want to take, all the functions of the wall-mounted gym timer with them wherever they go. That's how the idea was born. We then made a few prototypes that we've been using at our box, and yeah, the feedback's been incredible. And yeah, we thought, hey, let's just explore that little idea further, and yeah, Timebirds was born.
Oh,
And then
fantastic.
here, and yeah, I guess
Fantastic. It's a very exciting product, and we'll get on to how exciting in just a moment. But out of interest, do you have, I know also on a podcast, you won't be able to see it if you're just listening, but if you're watching this on YouTube, do you have one there, either of you, that you can go, well, this is what we're talking about?
Yeah.
You must have one. There we go.
There you go.
Sure. So it really is,
Yeah.
would fit in your pocket, right?
Yeah, pocket size. It's strong enough to resist to all the gym environments, and you can throw it in your gym bag. It would still be fine. It's water resistant, so a lot of sweat, water splash, rain. You can use it indoor, outdoor. Yeah, it's yeah.
That was interesting. I was on a call the other day with a guy who runs a lot of online training, and I in one of the breaks I sent him the link because he's also into the functional training. I said, oh, by the way, Glenn, check this out. How cool is this? And he had a look and went, oh, I said, I need one of those on my desk. He said, for when I'm doing these sessions that can count down, so I can keep an eye on things. Like, there you go, there's another application.
I mean, every time we've been talking about Timebirds to the different communities, we've always had very amazing feedback. One guy came to me and said, oh, I'm a chef and I'd love to use this in my kitchen, because like the current kitchen timers, they're not backlit, so you can't see them very well. And he said, oh, that's exactly what I need. I'll put one in my kitchen. And yeah, many people said, I'll just use it as a desk clock. It looks really nice, very bright. So yeah.
It's amazing how many different people that we had never considered at the first point have found a utility and an interesting use for Timebirds timers. It's incredible, and it keeps us really excited, and we love hearing people's stories. So please keep them coming. And it's there's the Pomodoro timer, which productivity timer methodology that people have been saying that they'll use it for, and quite a few people have said that they want to use it as an alarm clock and wake up to the beep 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 of the start of their workout. So
no, that's me dreadful. We want go. Jump out there. Fantastic. So I guess so you had the idea. So I guess you just get a couple of mock-ups made and just start selling them. That's how it works, right? Not
it's like a lot of testing. We probably, I mean, believe it or not, but the idea was born 2 years ago. It's not related to the COVID situation at all. It was purely related to our own problems, so that we were trying to solve. And we've done many iterations to make sure that it was purpose built, and not just for the top athletes, but for the everyday athletes, and to be used in at home, at the gym, inside, outside. And we also developed quite a few modes to cover most of the training activities that Timebirds could be used in.
Yeah, sure. So it's in no way brand specific. It's a timer that's really for initially, in the first sense, for anyone who's into any sort of functional training. And then, yes, absolutely, we're acknowledging there are a myriad of other applications that people are finding for it, which is awesome, of course. But so, I mean, in 30 seconds or ish, how do you go about bringing something like this to market, to get to the point of actually pre-orders, to get up to that point, which we'll come to, which is a subject in itself? But the thinking that goes into it, the process, as you said, there was a few variations, a lot of testing. Just sort of give a bit of an understanding around that, because I think that's an important thing for people to understand.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to make a product. Designing a prototype is the easy bit. Going to production is the hard bit. It's very, very hard to manufacture products. It takes a lot of time, effort, and a tremendous amount of money. Originally, when we first started this project, we thought we don't need to go through a crowdfunding platform. We could, bootstrap it. And the further we were going to the process, the more money was being put into this. And at some point we said, there's no way we can keep going at that pace. So with our own funding. So yeah, we decided to go through a crowdfunding platform. It takes a lot of effort, time, and money. That's
absolutely. I think it's the ultimate flattery is when someone picks up your product and says, oh,
Yeah.
isn't that simple?
Yeah.
That's when you know you've succeeded, huh?
Exactly. Sometimes we get comments, why can't you ship it next week or next month? I wish we could. We're working as fast as we can to organize production and make sure that we ship a good quality product, because this is definitely what we want. We don't want to disappoint. I think a lot of people are excited about Timebirds and using it, but we want to make sure that we deliver upon our promises.
You'd want to say to those people, like, guys, you do understand that only when we sell these do we get money for this. Like, trust us. There's no one more motivated to deliver these than us.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I think it's one of those things that it's a bit of a tightrope. Often with an idea like this, demand can absolutely destroy you if you're not ready to deal with it. And something like a crowdfunding platform really allows us to gauge initial interest and launch manufacturing to make sure that we can ensure the quality that we're so passionate about. This has to be we've always purpose built it, like we said, for the everyday athlete. It has to have that quality, and we have to make sure we can fulfill as we promised, and we have to make sure that we get the shipping right so that we can keep shipping rates as low as possible for everybody, and do all these things that are so important to us in terms of the experience. So crowdfunding campaign gives us literally an exact number so that we can launch manufacturing based on that, and then that gives us the systems and the structures and the quality assurance, all those things in place to then go into traditional e-commerce retail environment at that stage. But it just gives us, it makes sure that initial wave of orders doesn't bury us, basically. It gives us that little bit of...
I appreciate that. My next question was going to be, well, why a Kickstarter campaign? But you've answered that question, and it's not... it would be too easy for the layperson to assume you're doing that just to get all the money up front. That's not it. That's not it. There's much more to it than that, as you've just described.
It's actually in some ways wouldn't be the best option for that, without going into too much detail around that. I think often it's tempting not to go through that sort of platform for financial reasons, but I think for us, it was absolutely just about gauging initial interest, giving a platform where people, and we're so grateful for this, people engaging with us through crowdfunding are doing so knowing that they're not receiving their timer the next day in the post. Knowing that we're saying quite openly, this is going to be later in the year that you receive this, and without that sort of trust and engagement and buy-in from our community, the crowdfunding thing doesn't work. So we're immensely grateful for that, and the support from the community that's allowing us to launch this with the experience and the quality that we've always been really passionate about.
Yeah, and if I can add on to what Ross just said, the other thing about crowdfunding is the level of insights we are currently getting about our product. We've been testing it within our own community, mostly in Australia. Taking it to crowdfunding it's a different level, different world. We're getting a lot of insights that we could potentially implement onto the existing product, which is what we've been doing with what we call stretch goals. But also insights that we want to use for the next generations and make sure that whatever we do always answers a problem and will be adopted by our users. So it's extremely valuable from that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how many days ago did you launch the Kickstarter campaign?
It was 10 days? Last Tuesday, yeah.
Very good. So for those not familiar with Kickstarter, just a very quick overview of how it works, and let's hear about your experience with it so far. And I've deliberately avoided referencing the number. It's gone up, by the way. It's gone up by the time I've been talking. It's now going to buy another $1,000. So,
well, Kickstarter is an interesting one. The simple version is you launch a product, you have a set amount of time that the product's on the platform for, and you have to set a target. Now, your your campaign is only successful if you reach that target. Otherwise, everybody just gets their pledges and their money sent back to them. It doesn't, no one gets their product and you don't get the cash, obviously. So a big thing in Kickstarter, the first thing that's important is hitting your target. And then obviously your campaign continues for a set amount of time. People are able to back your product, be one of the first on the planet to get their hands on it. It's, you know, guaranteed that they're going to be the first in the first wave of orders. So that's kind of the appeal around it. And I think that probably leads to your next question, Matt, that you mentioned.
Absolutely. So you launched, and there's a whole range of options in there, different offers like bundles, packages, and all sorts of good stuff. But you went live, and I couldn't help but notice on your website that you were fully funded in 3 minutes of going live. Is that correct?
Yeah, which was incredible. So Julian, Kieran, and I were on a Zoom call for launch. We had some rough targets about when we might want to hit our initial target, that really important target I mentioned. And we thought, well, you know, when we wake up tomorrow or in the first 24 hours, it would be awesome if we just had that out the way. So we had that peace of mind and we could look forward to the rest of the campaign. So very quickly, it happened in 3 minutes. Yeah, like you said, and we were all kind of blown away. We had there was a bit of relief and euphoria around that. And we went on to then, the initial target, Julian, make sure I get the figures right, it's about 17,000.
Yeah, 18,000 US, 25 Aussie.
Yeah. So we then went on to hit 100,000 US in under an hour, and 150,000 US in an hour and a half. So,
wow.
You know, what the big thing for us with that is you have something like this that has been built with us, everyday athletes in mind, tested with, like Julian said, the Australian community. And the reason that was just such a euphoric moment for us was that just to see the support and the engagement from our community, you know, extrapolated out globally from what we knew was the case here, just, you know, it's mind blowing. I mean, obviously the money side of things is important in Kickstarter. It means you can launch your business. It means that you can get your product in the hands of all these people that you want to see use it. But probably more so for us at the moment, it's just continue to be blown away by that community. And not only is it the backing and the funding, it's like Julian said, people just reaching out and saying things like, wow, I've backed you, can't wait to get my hands on the product, can't wait to use Timebirds, this is how I'm going to use it. People coming back and saying, I've backed the product. When I say backed, that's, you know, you're ordering the product. It's known as pledging or backing on Kickstarter. People coming out and saying, I've backed Timebirds. It would be great if you could add this, or great if you could add that. But it's always, I've backed it, and it's never, if you do this, I'll buy it.
Sure.
It's just the community response, honestly, has been breathtaking. It's been unbelievable, and it continues to do so, which is great.
Before we go further, I'm going to have to say from myself and the whole team here at Bay Games headquarters, a massive congratulations so far. I mean, what a huge success.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
So rewarding for you so far, and I understand this is really only the beginning for you guys, because obviously at some point, which we'll talk about, you've actually got to go into production and deliver all of these. So it's that moment of yay, and then okay, head down. Now the work begins. But I have to say, you know what's amazing for me, before we went live, well, actually I won't steal the thunder. When we went live, you were at a staggering, and I'm talking in Australian dollars, and I'm looking at it. You were at a staggering $701,000 pledged so far, with 22 days still to go. Since we've been talking, it's gone up by another 2,000. It's now 703,000. Which is just, as we're sitting here talking, there's people pledging, there's placing orders at the end of it all, pledging. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, really well done. Congratulations. It's just, we're so excited for you.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
This is actually, this is interesting because, you know, we had plans for production and how many units we wanted to manufacture with the first batch, and that number keeps going up and up and up. So we're currently organizing production, obviously, making sure that we build the tooling and ship very shortly after the campaign. Given the success of the Kickstarter campaign now, we we are moving everything ahead of schedule. I mean, so yeah, it's hopefully we want to get enough units to ship to our backers, but also like all the people that will be ordering products for maybe Christmas or slightly after. Make sure we don't have too much of a backlog once we go live after Kickstarter. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, you're very generously. I mean, you've come aboard with the Bay Games, and we appreciate your support. So the first 60 that come off the production line, of course,
yeah,
to the winners. The top division of the Bay Games Unstoppable Edition, the online version this year. Thank you, COVID. But no, I mean, we appreciate your support very much. We're excited to have you aboard, and I know that when we announced to our audience that actually the top 3 from each division we'd be giving them the bird. You win, we give you the bird. It's kind of funny. But now there was a lot of really good feedback around that, so we appreciate your support there. And actually, I think as I'm sitting here thinking, it would be great to do another podcast with you guys in the future to dig into, when you've got more time and you're in a different space, to dig into the production side of it, to really understand how that looks, because there's a lot of our audience would be really interested by that. Just to understand the mechanics of that. But for now, I guess we focus on the Kickstarter campaign. This podcast is going live at a time when the campaign is still open, and for sure we'll be letting our audience know as the campaign comes to a close as well. But you mentioned already that you obviously heavily focused on production and getting units out to people ideally before the end of the year is what you're aiming for. I guess it depends on final numbers as well. As to what your first order looks like with your supplier.
Yes, this is the challenge, because everybody wants to have product made for the Christmas holidays. So production lines are very, very busy during that time. We've got manufacturing partners in Australia, Hong Kong, China, and in the US. So we've selected a few to make sure that we had different options, and being able to control quality again is very important to us. And it's that's the difficult part, is to align everything so you can ship products, let's say, at the right time. And the other things that we need to take care of is product instructions. We need, like, these sort of things that nobody realizes usually, testing the products, all the regulatory testing, so we can ship safe products all around the world too. Those things takes time. So it's not just building the unit mechanically, it's also all the peripherals, things going with it. Packaging is another one that takes time. So we're pretty busy at the moment.
Do you wish you had someone on the team that knew something about packaging, or?
Yeah, it's been my everyday life for the past few years. So it's
packaging.
It's good. Yeah. Yes.
Someone in my former life in the corporate world, certainly, I worked for a company from Germany who made safety and medical devices, often electronic devices that were sold throughout the world. So I can absolutely appreciate the complexities of type of product going into multiple countries. No question.
And if you associate all of this to the current COVID situation, like shipping products is a nightmare at the moment. There are very, very few flights coming into Australia, so we can see what the quality is, if everything is as per the specifications. And not being able to go and visit suppliers has been a little bit difficult as well. So we do exchange a lot of emails, phone calls, conference calls, and we've been shipping product back and forth. But it takes more time. If we were able to go to the factory and identify where the issues are and quickly correct them, we would be a lot more efficient than waiting for an email, waiting for a product, shipping everything back with the modifications, and so on and so on. So that has been a bit of a challenge, slowing us down a little bit. Not too much, but we could have been more efficient in a non-COVID situation for sure.
I think it's another benefit of the amazing response we've had on Kickstarter. Like Julian said, it is that it gives that element of certainty and assuredness around that first order. It also gives us a larger first order, so we're more likely to get, like Julian said, that spot on the production line. So I think, you know, it's another major positive of the response we've had so far, to be able to bring those timelines forward just a couple of weeks, so that we can really make sure that we are delivering on the timelines, regardless of, you know, COVID and the difficulties that that brings.
Absolutely. Guys, I'm conscious of time. To keep this as evergreen as possible, because we don't know when people are going to listen to it. Obviously, the Kickstarter campaign is important, but people can go to your website, and the pre-order button on your website at the moment obviously directs people to the Kickstarter campaign. So if we, if you let us know how people can find you online, what the web address, that kind of thing, I guess that makes it as evergreen as we can. It's timebirds.com, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's our website.
And birds with an S on the end, birdsplural.com. Where did the name come from, by the way? Timebirds.
We had a long discussion. I think one of these naming a business is obviously a pretty interesting process. Ultimately, we landed on Timebirds for a number of reasons. One, ultimately, these are a pocket-sized version of your wall-mounted gym timer that you can stick anywhere. So literally, we had this idea of Timebirds perching everywhere, perching wherever you wanted them to be, all around the gym, all around a fitness environment, chirping at you, making noises, and indicating, you know, obviously when you got to start stuff and all the rest of it. But also, we just, you know, we love this idea that time is all about freedom, and birds are all about freedom, and time gives us this ability to Timebirds give us this ability to have freedom around when we work out, when we're being timed. It breaks us free of the kind of the limitations of something that's wall mounted, or like Julian said, a phone that might be fragile or whatever. So there's an element of freedom in there as well, and we love the concept that time doesn't discriminate. Doesn't matter who you are or where you're from or what sport you're doing. Time is time.
That's a good tagline. So, time doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
Write that down. No, I love that. I love the story behind time, but I didn't know that. And everything you just said, yeah, is both very creative, but also makes a lot of sense. But if people want to reach out to you guys personally, how would they do that? How would they get in touch with you?
Probably the best bet at the moment is via email for a personal connection. So it's simple. Ross, ROSS at timebirds.com, or Julian with an E, JULIEN at timebirds.com. Yeah, the French version, Julian.
Yes.
But also, I would say that we've really enjoyed the way people have been engaging with us through social media as well. It's been a source of a lot of the feedback and interaction we've had that we've been able to then think about incorporating into Timebirds. So for that, you can get contact or connect with us, and please, you know, get in contact with us as well, and speak to us through at Timebirds Timers on Instagram. So it's Timebirds again, but timers on the end this time.
Very good. All of those links, of course, will be in the show notes of this podcast. We should also give a shout out to some of the partners that have got involved with your Kickstarter campaign, some of your stretch goals, for example. Feel free to just name those people or organizations.
Yeah, I'll leave Ross answers with this one, because he's the one who's worked really, really hard to get those partners on board. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I struggle to say it's hard work. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with all of them, and you know, they've all been great to work with. But we've partnered with Renaissance Periodization, so RP Strength, one of the best nutrition coaches and nutrition resource centers around. So they've provided a couple of their ebooks, as well as a subscription to their RP diet app as part of the campaign, which has been fantastic. Also, Brute Strength. So anyone in and around the functional fit industry will know that these guys are, you know, one of the prominent coaching and, again, resource centers and programming experts around functional fitness. So they've they've contributed a discounted version of their Ring Muscle Up program, which people backers can get as part of our campaign. The Professor Project and Train Your Weakness, which are both headed up by Brent Fikowski in partnership with a number of other athletes and coaches like Bobby D here in Australia, and Patrick Vellner, Chandler Smith, Cole Sager, amongst others collaborate with him on those. And they've donated, or not donated, but they've contributed a discounted version of their Train Your Weakness modules, and their, on the Professor Project side, a subscription to their premium subscription service there. And also Andrew Papp, who has contributed a subscription to his Everyday 365 program, but also very kindly contributed his 30-day bodyweight program ebook, which has just been released to all backers as our first stretch goal that got hit. And Andrew Papp is very prominent, active member of the functional fitness community here in Australia, so we're very proud to partner with him as well.
Absolutely. No, it's great to get, and again, we'll put links to all of those people and businesses in the show notes, of course. And as you say, it's great to see all of them getting aboard and supporting Timebirds.
Amazing.
It's fantastic. Very good. Guys, is there anything else you'd like to say at this stage? I'm pretty sure we're going to have you back on in the future, like I talked about, and we can dig into some of the specific areas. It'd be nice to get back on, of course, when the Kickstarter campaign closes, so we know what the final result is. So the interim so far, when we're talking, is 703,316 Aussie dollars, which is 5,337 backers so far. And of course, I guess some of those backers have bought multiple units, which is just amazing. So again, congratulations from my side. Appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Obviously, it's a massively busy month for you guys. So appreciate your time. And again, very much appreciate your support of the Bay Games.
Well, thank you for having us, Matt.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's been a pleasure, and we just really like to say thank you so much again. It's really, we always knew we were part of a really special community, but this has really solidified it, and we've been completely blown away by, everybody engaging with us and backing us, but also, like I said, just the communications. So thank you to everybody, and we look forward to seeing everyone using their timers.
And we'll definitely be part of the Bay Games probably next year. You'll see a team Timebirds competing at the Bay Games next year.
Well, I think we need to have two teams so you can go head to head.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
No, very good. All right, guys. Appreciate it. You take care.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks a lot.
Matt. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Thanks very much for listening. And if you've enjoyed this, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new episode. And if you think that one of your training buddies would also enjoy this, go ahead and share it with them right now. With that said, thank you once again. And as always, be brave, have fun, and lead by example.